No one walks life's path without the occasional detour. Benefis Gift of Life Housing provides a no-cost place to stay for those who travel for medical treatment.
I'm Gretchen Durant, and this is Eamon Durant. I'm an art teacher in Stanford. He was due the beginning of October, August 8th. My water broke at about 4 in the morning.
So we called the hospital and we were like, what are we supposed to do? What is happening here? Because we knew it was too early.
They were gonna try to just keep me there pregnant for a couple weeks, and then the next morning I started having contractions and developed preeclampsia. So we went into an emergency C-section. He was 2 pounds, 11 ounces.
The first 24 hours were hard because I was trying to watch everybody. My son was all hooked up to everything in the NICU, and my wife was upstairs hooked up to a bunch of other things. And I was just going back and forth trying to make sure that everybody was okay.
My name's Kayliana. I am an airbrush tattoo artist as well as a tie-dye artist. I'm a mother of 2, and I am a BRCA1 and Check 2 carrier. On my 33rd birthday, I got the gift of confusion. I was sick for a really long time. We could not figure out what was going on, and it came with lots of other issues that then led into colonoscopy with polyps being removed, trying to navigate the stomach issues. That stemmed into golf ball size cysts and having to get a full hysterectomy and omentectomy. With that also came having some mammograms that were coming up hot and not what we would want them to be. That came to my birthday of last year and being told breast cancer, and what do you do from there?
People think of plastic surgery as just being cosmetic, but probably 50% of my practice is cancer surgeries. Kay is one of those that nobody can forget. I mean, she's very vivacious. We have gone down the road of figuring out what her disease status was and how to best get her where she wanted to be. And through this whole time, she's made it a lot of fun. She always has a smile. She always has gifts for everyone who's involved in her care. I have received some tie-dye shirts for my whole family. And she has a lot of talents, both in making other people happy, even when she's going through an awful experience, and thinking about others in a state where most people would just be focused on their own self.
For thousands of people from rural Montana and beyond, Gift of Life has meant more time with their babies in our neonatal intensive care unit. Thousands saved in hotel costs and a chance to rest after chemotherapy before making the drive home.
Ultimately, we decided to go back to work while he was in the NICU so that we could save our leave time for when he got out. Right after he was born, we stayed at the Gift of Life consistently for a week or 2, and then we were there on the weekends.
Once we were coming back for the weekends, the stress was different, because then it was the stress of traveling every weekend and getting to see him and interacting with him through his little giraffe bed. Having that space that we could put cereal and some stuff in the fridge, and we didn't have to cart food back and forth. A lot of practical things that you just don't have to worry about, which matters a lot when you're worried about more important things.
It was stressful having to travel so much. We live outside of Helena in a little town called Montana City. It's been a lot, especially with the weather. I wasn't able to see Dr. Please last year on our initial date because it had snowed 16 inches. And that pushed me back to not meeting with them almost into April. We were able to come into Gift of Life East the day before the big surgery, and it was quiet and peaceful, and we opened up the door and it was perfect.
Most patients that undergo a severe illness will have financial issues. It is not something people plan to have happen to them. They do not have the capacity to handle both their severe illness and inability to work, along with all of the extra expenses that come with that illness, with travel, with finding housing, And I just had a patient recently say she was going to live in her car for 3 days until we saw her after surgery. So this is extremely necessary for patients to have a place to land that's clean, that's safe, that they can shower. Sometimes a motel room is just not comfortable. And patients can't cook, they can't eat, they have to spend money on going out. It's cost prohibitive to travel to get care.
In the beginning of November, I had a colonoscopy scheduled that was pushed back from February. I had assumed that it was just hemorrhoids because that's what all the doctors and nurses had suggested it probably was. Then it was not. It was a tumor.
It was like getting punched in the gut. We're both teachers in rural Montana. We couldn't afford to drive back and forth every day of the weekend. We would have had to choose a day to see our son instead of being able to do it over the weekend. And then staying here for a week in a hotel while my wife was recovering from cancer, we couldn't afford that.
I know that I really like the feeling that I get when I give, and that when you're there on the other side in Gift of Life, I felt so grateful sitting there on that chair being like, donors made this possible. So I'm here and I don't have to try to fuss and try to get an Airbnb or try to drive back in the middle of the night. And it just makes such a big impact.
I don't know if you could find a better cause than Gift of Life, because it keeps families together during difficult times, families that otherwise couldn't afford it.
The need for Gift of Life continues as more folks walk uncertain paths toward healing. Will you help us refurbish Gift of Life to provide a safe and quiet place of refuge for your neighbors across Montana going through a challenging medical experience? Join us in letting them know they don't walk alone. Give today.